Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So, traveling alone. I wanted to talk to you about that today. I find traveling alone so incredibly empowering, and the opportunity to go where you want to go, to do what you want to do, see what you want to see at any time during your trip is really an amazing feeling. And so, in this video, I wanted to talk to you about that and why you may want to consider taking a trip on your own. So let's get started. Hi, I'm Michelle. This is Silver Colored Glasses, and on this channel, we talk everything from pre-planning for retirement to everything aging, traveling, living alone, aging parents, changes in relationships with kids, and all the above. So welcome back. I am glad that you are here. Benefits. All right, so I want you to consider these. Sleeping in. Sleep in. You don't have to get up at any certain time. Or get up at the crack of dawn and head out to the beach to watch the sunrise. You don't have any time constraints when you are traveling alone, which can be really, really amazing. Number two, no schedule. You have nothing to set in stone unless it's activities that you have pre-planned to do on your own. But if you decide that you want to stay extra somewhere, that's okay. And you should do that. There were have actually been a couple of times where I was out on the beach and I decided to stay late so that I could see the sunset. So, feel free to indulge in just a scheduleless activity that seems really fun at the time. You don't have to worry about a schedule. So that's a great one. This one might seem a little hokey, but I really find that on the trips that I take alone, I really find more about me. When you're a parent or when you're an adult, just in general, even if you're not a parent, but you're working and you are budgeting and you are taking kids around and you're spending time with your family members and all of that, all of the adulting that we are required to do. It's really hard to take time sometimes to really look inward to find the things that really bring you joy. It's really easy to kind of get in that, that sort of tunnel visioned day-to-day activities, got to get this done, got to get this done, got to get this done, kind of rather than really looking at the things that really make you happy. So on a trip like that, when you are going alone, you can really analyze what makes you happy, what makes you smile, and then do those things on that trip. There's a couple of examples that I have on my trips. There was a flower field that I came upon when I was driving to another activity that I had pre-planned that had just acres and acres of flowers. And I'm a flower girl. And I just was taken aback. And I stopped. I went up to, they had it was like a farmer's market, and then they had acres and acres of flowers that they grew on their property. And they just let people walk through as you're visiting the farmer's market on their property. And so I did that. I spent 2 hours doing that, walking through the flower fields. And I mean to tell you, it was just amazing. That day was just amazing. And then also, one of the things that I indulge in when I'm on a trip by myself is I love bookstores. And that might sound silly to other people, and museums. But bookstores in particular, I can spend hours at. And then, other than my daughter, who probably loves books and bookstores more than I do, really, I can spend hours in there. And the last couple of trips that I found one little tiny boutique store downtown that I spent a long time in, and then another bigger store that had these amazing displays for each kind of book, each kind of literature. And so I just was in heaven in both of those places and didn't feel any guilt about staying extra or pushing things out that I had planned to do. Those are the kinds of things that you can find on a solo trip that you may not be able to either have the opportunity or have the time to really, pay attention to when you're in a group of people that are trying to travel together and doing activities together. So take advantage of that as well. That's a huge benefit. Spoiling yourself is another benefit. On a lone trip, traveling alone, you can indulge a little bit. Stop and get a croissant or a little piece of chocolate in a fudge store. Make an appointment for a spa treatment, a facial or pedicure, manicure. Get your hair done. I've done all of that on my trips, and it just feels so indulgent and so freeing and so fun that I would really encourage you just to do that. And again, you don't have to spend a lot of money. But just find something that really just makes you feel pampered a little bit. Those are, that makes the trip sometimes. One of the things that I did recently on one of my recent trips was that I signed up for a wine sipping and painting class on the beach. And we painted a picture. I'll post that up here. It's looks more like a monster eating a tree rather than sand and a palm tree. But it was fun. And the wine was amazing. So those are things that I might sign up for on a trip alone that I may not even suggest in a group, on a group trip or a family trip, because I'm not sure if other people on the trip would want to do that with me or not. But I had an amazing time. So you should do that too, or try those anyway. And then another thing is that there are some benefits to just doing nothing on a trip for a day or a morning or an afternoon, rather than booking yourself solid on trips. And, we tend to do that, at least I do, when I have my kids with me in particular. I feel like we need to have activities planned and, doing. But when I travel alone, I allow myself to just have a few hours sitting on the balcony drinking coffee, reading a book, or again, as I mentioned earlier, sleeping in. But there are times where it's just feels so indulgent and freeing just to do nothing, stay in your jammies and stay in the hotel and order room service. Things that you don't necessarily get to do in your everyday life can feel so amazing. So I would encourage you to do that as well. Number 7, I think that one of the things that I enjoy the most is not having to compromise on a trip by myself. There's no guilt, as I mentioned earlier. There's no compromising. I do what I want when I want. And, that's very freeing and very empowering as well. So I really think that that's a huge benefit as well. There are 2 things more that I think are on my list of benefits. And one of them is that I do feel very just sort of incognito. Nobody knows me. I am free to do what I want. But I also find that I may do things that I'm not comfortable doing in my hometown. Now, as I've gotten older, I'm less self-conscious. I am less caring about what other people think. But dining alone in my hometown makes me uncomfortable. And I don't know what that's about. But dining alone in a restaurant when I'm traveling, I don't even think about that. In fact, I really enjoy it. I tend to be a very quiet person. I'm much more of an observer than I am a joiner. And so, people watching and just sitting, drinking a glass of wine and, sharing a fancy meal or having a fancy meal and just really indulging and enjoying the solitude of dining alone. I really find that to be very enjoyable on the trips that I take. And I did also, in one of my recent trips, buy a big white sun hat on one of my trips. And I ended up wearing that hat everywhere I went. Absolutely loved it. Haven't worn it since. It's hanging up in my bedroom. I'm not a hat person. I don't wear hats usually, but on that trip I did, and it was so fun. So just sort of being not invisible necessarily, but just having, the freedom of nobody knowing you and nobody having preconceived notions about you, preconceptions about you, is very freeing as well. So that's one of my favorite benefits about traveling alone as well. And then the last benefit for me is just feeling very empowered during my trips and then after my trips. Just knowing that I was able to successfully plan, um, uh, navigate through big cities, keep myself safe, get through the airports, problem solve if there was some sort of travel miscommunication, something like that. Getting back and looking back at my trips, that sense of empowerment, that I did that on my own, and that it was successful, for me is really, really fun as well. So those are the benefits. There's also some things that I think that are important if you're going to travel alone, especially as a female, but really all of us, male and female, that you might want to keep in mind. Some things to consider while you're traveling. Number one is safety. Safety, safety, safety. So when you're alone, it's really important to make sure that you do things like parking in areas that are well lit. Uh, Trying to come home or back to the motel, Airbnb, still during late daylight hours if you can. Uh, uh, I actually carry mace with me when I'm out walking alone, or when I'm going to be in an area that I'm not really sure about. I have it in my hand at all times. I wear also a crossbody bag that goes across here so that I don't have my bag or a purse that can be taken or pickpocketed. Or taken, or also I also found that it also keeps me from leaving it um, at a restaurant or in a store or something like that. So that's really important. Just be very mindful that you should stay around where people are as much as possible, and just be very observant of your surroundings, because safety is a big consideration when you're traveling alone. Um, Another consideration might be that you have somebody that knows your itinerary. I think that's really important too. Make sure that somebody knows what your flights are when you're supposed to be back. Also, what your just a basic of what your daily itinerary is, just so that if anything were to happen, they know how to contact you, where you're staying, for example, and how to get a hold of you just in case something happens or there's an emergency of some sort. To make sure that somebody knows where you're at. And also, I think too, another consideration might be to pre-plan as much as you can. So one of the things that I always make sure that I pre-plan on my trips is are my pickups and my drop-offs. So my pickups from the airport, my drop-offs. Does the hotel have a shuttle? Do I need to arrange for a taxi? That sort of thing. I had a really terrible experience in Dallas when I was there for a conference. This was years ago, and I didn't plan ahead in terms of getting to the airport before my flight. I took a shuttle from the airport to my hotel when I first got there. So I just assumed that I would arrange to do that on the way back. What I found out is that the shuttles weren't available that morning, and my flight was leaving at a certain time. I asked the hotel staff about how much a taxi would be from the from the hotel to the airport. And I was really low on cash after my conference. I had overspent. Well, goodness sakes, what you barking at? Huh? Want to come up and see everybody? Stanley was getting jealous. Wanted to see everybody. But as it turned out, the taxi ride was like, quadruple what I had planned on. And I didn't have enough money, and the taxi driver would not release my bags out of the back of the car. I ended up crying at the airport, and one of the guys that was taking the bags, checking the bags outside on the sidewalk in front of the airport, sort of didn't know what to do, and he gave me cash out of his hand. I guess it was tip money or something out of his hand to give to the taxi driver, so that I could get my bags back. I mean, talk about scary. I was young. I didn't know what to do. Plan ahead. Plan ahead. Know how much it's going to be. Know what times. Know who's going to pick you up as much as you can. Another thing to consider is that things sometimes are more expensive when you're traveling alone. You know, that double occupancy term, that's something to really check out. I signed up for a getaway, conference / getaway in the mountains a couple of years ago. And I thought I signed up for single occupancy, and come to find out the total when I went to pay for it was double. And that was because the advertised price was based on double occupancy. So be really, really careful about that. Cruises also do that. They'll give you a price on there, but that's for double occupancy. And so be really careful about that as well. Consider using the concierge at the airport, at the hotel, and also the hotel staff. That can be very helpful in terms of finding, where you need to be, what you need to do, activities. Sometimes they can even get you tickets to shows and give you some suggestions on what to do, help arrange taxis, things like that. So those can be really helpful too, especially when you're, a first-time traveler or traveling alone. That can be really, really, really helpful. And then the last thing I think, and I haven't done this, but I'm going to, I plan to do this, is to take some sort of group or guided tour, where there's a guide, whether it's the bus driver or, whatever that might be, and taking a group tour. So you're traveling alone, but you're with a group of people. I thought that might be fun too, especially, excuse me, like the historical trips, things like that. I thought that might be really nice. The guide has awful lot of information that they can share, but also you're in a group setting, so you might feel a little safer. Things are pre-planned for you, and you don't have to do as much on your own. So that's a really nice way, I think, to travel as well, and I'm going to look into that for myself as well. So I think, just all in all, I think it's just important to know that you don't have to spend a lot of money to travel alone. You do want to indulge yourself. You do want to spoil yourself, but you don't have to spend a lot of money doing that. If you want to get away on your own, and you don't have a lot of money, do a little staycation. My kids and I do that a lot, where every few months or so, we'll just stay in a local hotel. We'll go swimming. We'll have dinner, even order pizza at the pool. And so it's just a nice way to get away on your own. You can book a spa treatment in your own hometown. Take a weekend trip as well. You don't have to go very far and spend an awful lot of money to get the same benefits that you would, as if you went abroad somewhere. So just keep that in mind. You deserve to pamper yourself. You deserve to do a little bit of indulgence. And traveling solo can really give you such a great feeling and can be so freeing. And I hope that you'll be able to reap the benefits of that sometime soon. And so I hope that this encourages you to take the opportunity to do that. So let me know where you're going. Let me know what you're planning. How does it work out? Thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you'll return. Please think about, if you haven't already, subscribing. I don't want you to miss any upcoming episodes, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much.